A Nascent Kaleidoscope. Chapter 91. You know, I feel like a divorced dad whose ex got the kids. I propped my head up with my arm, sitting at the table watching Artoria hold both the true Longinus and Graham. Artoria seemed amused by that, flashing me a smile as she lightly swung both weapons. This demonic sword doesn't like me. She gave it a few more swings. Yeah, it wasn't exactly sapient, but it had its own intelligence. It was more like it was putting up with her as opposed to wanting her to wield it, almost like it could recognize Excalibur and begrudgingly admitted its inferiority and just stayed quiet in her hands. Honestly, it almost completely ignored the fact that she was a dragon, even though the sword vehemently hated dragons. My Ascalon has more powerful anti-dragon properties due to its nature as a noble phantasm, yet holding it did not bring about nearly the same feeling as this Graham did. But the spear won't stop glowing. I pointed out. She furrowed her brow as she stared intently at the spear, setting the sword down next to her. This spear, it is not a noble phantasm, but I feel uneasy with it in my hand. She ran a finger along the flat of the spear tip. It feels like something is watching me intently, judging each of my actions. And other facets remind me of my own lance. Really? It reminds you of that ridiculous thing. I was surprised by her admission. You know of my lance? She tilted her head. I do. I suppose I am one of the few alive that does, Zelretch being an obvious addition. I sat back in my seat, the pillar that fastens the layers of reality to the world. I waved my hand flippantly. Not even my knights knew of its true nature. She said quietly, Merlin warned me very early on not to overuse its power. Comparable to my sword it was, but its nature made it incompatible for mortals to wield over time. The spear, do you like it? I shot her a smile. She looked at me with a little surprise on her face. Are you? Asking me if I was interested in keeping it? If you liked it, I wouldn't mind giving it to you. A smile crept up on her face as she shook her head. No, it's giving me an uneasy feeling. It would not reject me, but I feel like I would lose something precious if it took it as my weapon. She sat it down next to Graham. But your intent is very much appreciated. She turned her head away, a small red tint on her cheeks. Besides, it is your spoils of battle. I have already taken Caliban, and I feel uneasy about that decision. Worried about your descendant? I asked. It is a strange feeling. She admitted. I know I am not technically related to him, but I somehow feel responsible for his actions. As deplorable they were, yet he did them for a good reason. She took a seat at the table. I am conflicted. What should I do? Well, he seemed to realize he was in the wrong. That means he isn't beyond saving. I pointed out. And you are not angry he had a hand in. She didn't finish, but I knew she was speaking about Kunu. I am furious. I replied, which wasn't a lie. I would not bat an eye if Yasaka dealt with him. But I'm not unreasonable. He didn't directly involve himself, and my heart isn't made of stone. I can recognize the reasoning for working with Chow Chow. I can't say what I would or wouldn't do for my sister. I don't have one, but I don't know what I would do to save someone I care about. I wish to have words with this Pendragon family at some later point. She stated, her expression hardening. I will happily go with you. I offered. It seems like there are several more reasons to go back to the world now. I sighed. I never intended to get attached there. Artoria got up from her seat, walking over to me before pushing herself in my lap. She looked up at me, rather bashfully. Hello. I couldn't help but laugh as I wrapped my arms around her. She leaned back, meeting my eyes. Is this uncomfortable? No, I was just surprised. Someone is getting more confident. She hummed lightly. I could feel her head against my chest. It's true. I also have things there that occupy my thoughts. Izzy? I asked. Yes. I admit I do not have many people I can call friends, and I did enjoy my time spent with her. Rin was different. With Izanami, it felt like I connected with someone on my own. Artoria said quietly, You know, Zelretch probably wouldn't mind shuffling you back and forth when I'm away. I already told her that I would be heading out soon, and she was there when I spoke a little bit about the world I was going to. It would not be inconvenient for the Wizard Marshal? She looked up at me again. Of course not. He already considered you part of the family, even without us dating. Oh. She looked rather happy at that comment. I see. I suppose I should make preparations then. A small pep in her tone gave away at her excitement. Maybe she's been feeling a bit stifled staying in the clock tower for so long? I felt bad telling Izzy I wouldn't see her for a bit. I sighed. I think it would do her good if someone popped in every now or then. I could tell that Artoria wasn't trying to be overly sexual when she sat on my lap like this, but her shifting her but over my groin every now and then. Izanami is not the only one either. Artoria spoke. Your bond with Kunu was rather sudden, but it was no less heartwarming to see you so taken with her. I can't help it. She adopted me. I chuckled. And Yusaka? She asked. What about Yusaka? I'm curious on your thoughts of her. She is a good mother. It must be hard to juggle that along with ruling over a large portion of Japan's yukai. I meant as a woman. Oh, really? I have seen the looks you've given her. I was merely curious if there would be another woman in your life or not. I thought about it, and I still wasn't quite sure myself. No idea. I doubt I will ever abandon Kunu, so something may happen in the future, but I'm not really on the lookout for more women to add to my growing harem. She finished for me, a slight twitch of amusement on her face. Someone is being bold today. She looked up at me, her face a little flushed as she reached up and pulled my head down into a kiss. It wasn't very deep, but it was much more than a slight peck on the lips. Okay, what's going on with you? I enjoyed the brief moment of intimacy, but she was definitely acting strange. I am perfectly fine. She turned away. Yeah, no. I poked her cheek. As much as I enjoy this closeness, you are acting strange. Spill. It's nothing, just when. Her face turned a much brighter red than before. When we engaged in battle and I fought that Hercules person, I felt some things. Well, I could only imagine what it was like to fight someone calling themselves Hercules after facing the real T. From you. She clarified. From me. I looked at her in confusion until realization dawned on me. I think there was some sort of sympathetic link when her dragon's core roared to life and the boosted gear that was inside my soul. Does that mean I basically blasted her with all my lust for those few moments? Welp, time to go kill myself. She tugged on my sleeve to grab my attention. I was surprised and perhaps a little unsure of how to process those feelings at the time, but I am happy you feel that way about me. She said quietly. Compared to someone like Yusaka, I was worried that you didn't. She trailed off but didn't finish. Oh, that's why she was feeling emboldened. Awkwardness aside, at least she is happy, I guess. On the flip side, if I felt things like that from someone I was attracted to, it would definitely give me a confidence boost. I ran my hand down her arm until her fingers intertwined with me. I had to leave later, but I would just enjoy these few moments for now. I flipped my hat, setting it neatly on my head, looking around the room. I suppose this is goodbye again. Don't forget to bring back souvenirs. Rin barely gave me a look. Love you too, Rin. And yes, I'll be very careful. Thank you for your kind words. I ignored her and turned to Artoria. Take care of yourself. Make sure Rin eats at least twice a day. Also don't forget to change her jia. Fuck you, Schweinorg. Rin shout from the other side of the room. I smirked at her, and her lips curled up as well. Try not to be too much of a man-whore. A Herculean task, but I shall try. Seems like her and Artoria had a chat. Well, I'm glad she isn't making any false assumptions on our relationship then. Be careful. You do not know what dangers are awaiting you. Artoria stepped forward towards me expectantly. Do you have everything you require? Foodstuffs, healing materials, alchemic ingredients, on my OG supplies. I wrapped my arms around her, pulling her in close. I have more than enough. Besides, this world isn't supposed to be very dangerous, all things considered. Do not be overconfident. She lightly chided. She stood up on her tiptoes and placed her lips against mine briefly. Yes, ma'am. I shot her a smile, which she reciprocated. Usually, I'm the one having to make sure he's prepared. Zelretch stepped in. It's good to have someone to keep his head on straight. He gave a gentle smile towards both me and Artoria. Her words ring true. I only know some vague outlines of this world line you are going to, having only glimpsed it in the past by mere chance. Yeah, I read the notes. There are humans there, so I should be able to wing it. Stood up straight as Artoria removed herself. My acting skills are quite good. Anything you want me to grab while I'm out and about. Oh, now that you mention it, I do have a small list with me." He waved his hand and a piece of paper flew right over to me, bundled up into many pages. I looked it over and gave him glare. "You are the worst." I deadpanned. He just cackled. "Do what you can." He waved me off. "Other mundane things as well. I wouldn't mind some soil samples from various places, perhaps some foliage as well. If they have any interesting foods or varieties, I wouldn't mind expanding the garden." I forgot he had his own garden. If I remembered correctly, he traded favors with the blue to adjust the growth rate there. A mild adjustment to the temporal flow, basically a bounded field that accelerates time. "Well, I have the coordinates already, but would you mind giving me a lift, old man?" I asked. "Sure." He smiled, waving his hand, allowing a new portal to open. "This should get you relatively close to civilization, though how accurate it is I don't know." "Good enough for me." I gave one last look around the room. "Off I go." And I jumped in. The split second between the 2 points had me merely blinking as I started falling through the air, smacking into tree branches before I hit the ground. "Ow!" I whined, face planting into the dirt. 10 out of 10 nice face plant. Well, what do the other judges have to say? I rolled over to stare at a young woman looking at me a few feet away. "Hello." She blinked at me. "Are you okay?" "Probably." I stood up, brushing myself off. "Did you see a hat anywhere?" "I saw it fall over." She disappeared in a burst of rose petals. "Here you go." She happily handed it back to me. "Thanks." I brushed it off as well, putting it back on my head. Not the weirdest thing I've seen before. "You're pretty fast." I took another look. She was wearing a red cape with a hood, and her hair had some red highlights. Were those natural or not? Curious. She seemed to beam at my praise. "It's my semblance," she said excitedly. "What about you? What was yours?" "I saw that bright light suddenly fill the sky. You were like WAH, and fell and then smack hit the ground." She started gesturing with her hands. "Was that your semblance?" "Sure, why not? The fuck is a semblance?" "That must mean you're a huntsman." She practically squealed. "What's a huntsman?" I asked in confusion. "Some kind of hunter." She tilted her head. "Someone who fights grim, duh." She looked at me weirdly. "How do you not know that?" I'm from very far away." "How far away?" "Like Mistral." "But even Mistral has huntsmen, maybe Atlas, but they're everywhere, and there's no way you wouldn't know about them then." "I guess you must be from Vacuo. I heard it's all desert over there." "Did you come from the desert? Is it really as hot as people say?" "I heard that there are a lot of grim that hide under the sands and make it hard to travel." "Further away," I said without really thinking about it, getting a better look at the broken moon in the sky. She gasped. "Are you an alien?" "Wait, what?" Why would she even reach that conclusion? I mean, it isn't technically wrong, just kind of a weird train of thought to randomly reach. "Sure, kid." "Oh my gosh." She threw her hands up in excitement. "I can't wait to tell Yang and Dad. Uncle Crow too." Rose petals began to fall around her as she practically vibrated in the spot she was standing. Well, some directions to town wouldn't be remiss. She seems fun, probably no older than 15, maybe a little bit younger than that. "Awesome. I can show you Patch, and you can meet Dad. He's home right now." I just shrugged. Wasn't like I was going to get a better offer anytime soon. Would give me an opportunity to get some actual information from her about this world. "Oh, by the way, I'm Ruby. Ruby Rose." She turned around waving at me. "Oh, right. It's RUBYROSE." Enunciating her name like I couldn't understand her. "Ruby, we've been speaking the same language this whole time." I deadpanned. "I'm Wilhelm Henry Schweinorg. It's a pleasure." Chapter 92. I picked a leaf from a nearby tree, looking at it for a moment before tossing it away. Nothing too spectacular about it. Not that I was expecting anything different. It was surprising how many worlds seemingly evolved in such similar ways. I'm pretty sure this tree had a corresponding twin back on Earth somewhere, at least enough on the surface to be unnoticeable of either world's habitants. Even the grass didn't look anything impressive, but I did grab a sample of dirt and added it to a little baggie for later. Oh, Ruby shot in front of me. "Are you taking samples back to your mothership for later?" She looked at me expectantly. "Yup, my Gramps wanted samples from this world. In for a penny, in for a pound. Why, you don't need samples of people, right?" She shrunk down slightly. I couldn't help but smile at her antics. I wondered if Kunu would be like her in a few years. I'm not here to kidnap anyone. I shook my head with a small laugh as something caught my eyes in the distance. What's that? I pointed over towards a clearing. Ruby's head snapped, eyes squinting. Beowulf! The words barely left her mouth as her form disappeared, leaving behind a small outline of rose petals. What an excitable girl! I muttered, looking where she burst off to. I saw the metal contraption on her back, which I was assuming to be a gun, transform into a very large scythe. Okay then. I just blinked as she swung around a weapon larger than herself. A couple more of these Beowulfs stumbled out of the woods, running at her. She slid under their attacks with ease, using the momentum of her own swings to weave into the bodies of the creatures, easily dismembering them. They fell to the ground, dissolving into nothingness. Curious. I tapped my chin, taking out the notes the old man gave me about this world. Grim, was it? I scratched my head, trying to make sense of what Zelretch wrote. Some kind of malevolent constructs that populate the world and are inclined to seek out and kill people, seemingly completely ignoring animals. Zelretch wasn't sure of their origin, nor of how they exist, so to speak. Something to look into. There were a few drawings to go along with what he wrote. Apparently, they all have these weird bone protrusions all over their body, also each have these bone masks on their faces. Otherwise their bodies are almost completely black with weird red markings. All done! Ruby appeared next to me again. You're pretty good. Uh-huh, I'm going to be a huntress. Ruby nodded happily. You have a lot of wasted movements, though. I idly commented, writing a couple things in the margin of the notes I was given. What? She looked at me with a little surprise on her face. I could see through her combat style at a glance. You rely too much on being quicker than your opponents. Your attacks had a lot of flair, but you had too many openings. If you were to go against an intelligent opponent, someone used to fighting people, you would probably lose as you are. I walked over to a nearby tree and found a good length branch. Giving it a few swings, I nodded to myself. Come at me! I ushered her forward. Wait, you want to spar? With a stick. I just smiled. Turning around, I filled the stick with my magical energy and swept it against the tree. Her eyes practically bugged out of her head as the large object began to fall out with a clean cut through its trunk. How did you do that? Was that your semblance? She practically shouted. Wait, do aliens have aura? Do they have souls? Wait, is it rude to assume that aliens don't have souls? Am I being accidentally racist? Yang said I need to be careful about that. You can assume it's my semblance. I just nodded, more amused than anything at her ramblings. I honestly wanted to pat her head, but I refrained. So come, try to attack me. All right, but tell me when your aura gets low. I don't want to hurt you. She pulled her weapon out, and it shifted from a gun-like object into a full-on scythe again. Almost lackadaisical with her attention, as if she didn't see me as a threat, and this was merely for fun. Well, Miss Huntress, are you going to attack or not? I lazily leveled my stick at her. That got her attention, as she moved quickly at me, petals showing her advanced speed activating. It didn't look like she was taking me seriously, as she used a blunt part of her weapon to sweep at me. I stepped forward, raising my stick up and piercing right towards her shoulder. Her entire attack got stopped. She was lifted off her feet and knocked back several yards. Curious, a red shimmering barrier appeared over her, stopping me from making contact. I actually put more force into it than I intended to test its actual strength. I flipped open the book again, turning to page I recalled. Ah, was this the aura I heard about? She did mention something about that as well. The power of the soul made manifest, or something like that. Seriously, Zelretch's notes are really fucking vague. Kind of feel like he did that on purpose to mess with me. Ow! Ruby stood up, rubbing her shoulder. I felt that through my aura. Maybe I should hold back a little bit. Again. Ruby shook herself off, standing back up. I'll get you this time. She took a stance, somewhat better than before, like she was taking this moderately serious. Granted, I didn't know much about wielding a scythe, but her legs were steady, and she had a solid center of gravity. She moved, her scythe sweeping towards my torso. She used her whole body to spin the large weapon at me. My stick made contact, acting like a wall as it blocked her blade. But she apparently anticipated this, and her scythe shifted slightly, acting more like a glaive. Twisting it around, she used her momentum to continue her assault. I met each of her attacks with the slightest movement. While she danced around me with huge, sweeping attacks, I merely flicked my stick to block. The petals around me started to pile up, and I noticed that she was only sprinting in straight lines. It made following her movements even easier if I couldn't already see them easily from before. She had a good rhythm going, and against one of those grim creatures it would have been a sufficient strategy. Alas. Yield! I stepped forward, disrupting her entire movement, placing my stick at the nape of her neck. She blinked, looking down. "You're good," she whispered. "Only Uncle Crow is able to beat me that easily. You're simply not used to fighting other people." I tossed my stick to the side. "Yeah," she pouted, refolding her scythe back into its compacted form and putting it away on her back. "But I want to be a huntress. To fight Grim and be a hero, I don't need to fight people." She beamed. I really didn't want to kill that innocence she had, so I held my tongue. "It seems you can only use your burst of speed in straight lines, too." "What?" "No." She looked away awkwardly. "What gave it away?" "You only moved in straight lines with it." I laughed. "Keep practicing. You'll be able to overcome that limitation in the future." I smiled. "Humph, I keep practicing until I can beat you." She huffed. "But that was so cool." She quickly changed her tone. "How did you do that?" Her attitude was really contagious. "I trained with a good teacher." I smiled happily, thinking of Scat Hack again. The memories were becoming less and less bitter as time passed, but I still missed her something fierce. I can't wait until I can go to Beacon." "Is Beacon a school?" I hazarded a guess as we continue on through the forest. "Oh, I forgot you aren't from around here," she said with the subtlety of a dragon. "Beacon is the best huntsman's school in Vale. My dad and Uncle Crow went there, and my mom too." More to mentally file away. "There's my home." She hand gestured towards the end of another clearing. It wasn't what I was expecting, but it looked rather homey. A large log cabin with a few others in the distance. And a bit further away, I could vaguely see something resembling a town with some buildings that peeked over the treeline. "So, as grateful as I am, is it a good idea to lead a stranger to your home like this?" "I'm supposed to help people." She smiled brightly. "And Dad's home, and I'm a huntress in training." I just shrugged. Different social norms, based on how they developed here. "Dad!" Ruby shouted. "I'm home and I have a guest." "It better not be a boy." Another shout came from deeping in the house. "Dad!" Ruby shouted in indignation as the sound of footsteps could be heard approaching. A tall blond man walked out of a nearby room. He stared at me for a moment. Where did I put my shovel? I have the strangest feeling I'll be needing to dig a grave. I couldn't help but have my lips curl up. He seems fun. "Dad!" "Stop being mean. I'm not a child." She puffed up. "I'm going to tell Uncle Crow." Fine, fine." He held his hands up in surrender. "Go get your uncle. He should be sleeping off a hangover. Somewhere." "Ugh, all right." She pouted. "I wanted to show Crow the alien anyways." She disappeared in a burst of petals. "Ruby." He turned and shouted in the directions he ran off to. I said, "No semblance in the house. You're cleaning these up when you get back." He turned back towards me. "An alien?" He eyed me suspiciously. "Is that some kind of pickup line the kids are using these days?" "Your daughter has an active imagination, so I just played along." I shrugged. "That girl." He sighed in exasperation. "So, who are you and why shouldn't I be actively looking for my shovel?" Oh gods, will this be how I react when my daughter starts dating? I couldn't help but thinking about that and shuddered. "Sorry to ruin your fun. I don't have those kind of intentions. Besides, she's a bit young for me. I prefer older women." The man let out a laugh. "Taiyong Xiaolong." He held out his hand, which I shook. "Everyone calls me Tai. Wilhelm Henry Schweinorg." I returned the greeting. "Your daughter was kind enough to lead me here after I got a bit lost after a semblance mishap." "Semblance mishap?" He eyed me. I just shrugged, choosing to be vague. "She is quite excitable. She gets that from her mom." Tai smiled. "So what's this about being an alien?" He raised an eyebrow, clearly wanting to know the joke. "Lots of colors in the sky. Fell down and landed in front of your daughter, ergo alien." I summarized. Tai snorted. She gets into the weirdest situations. He laughed. Well, at least she can handle herself. I pointed out taking a seat as he gestured to a chair. Took care of a handful of Beowulfs with relative ease. A handful. He rubbed his chin. How far away were you? Less than an hour out. Ruby would know better than me. I scratched my head. I'll need to talk to some people. He sighed. We usually keep the Grim really thinned on the island. A group of Beowulfs isn't really a huge red flag, but regardless, especially this close to town. He shook his head. So what are you here for? Not many people visit Patch just to visit. Basically, it's where us old hunters retire to raise our kids. Well, I was intending to go to Vale, but well. I lied through my teeth, using terms I just learned minutes ago. Semblance mishap. He nodded. How does that work? I thought for a moment, taking my hat off and reached inside, taking out an apple, tossing it to him. Could more or less guess what a semblance was at this point, was just going to pass up my use of space as my semblance for now. No idea if this would work, but it was worth a try. He seemed surprised, staring at the piece of fruit and down back at my hat. Oh, cool. Chapter 93. So Crow picks up a banana, and I know what you're thinking. He's going to do something hilarious with it, right? I nodded along, a small smile on my face as Ty recounts a story with him and his best friend. Maybe throw it at one of the gangsters. Maybe toss the banana peel, and some weird comedic timing makes one of them slips on it. He raised his eyebrow. Nope. He barely held in a laugh. He stops fighting, right in the middle of the brawl, and starts peeling that banana. I look at him in complete shock, wondering what the hell he's doing. The guys were fighting stop and stare at him too, wondering what the hell was wrong with this guy. Ty shook his head. Crow just stares the one thug he was fighting with a moment ago, right in the eyes, and shoves the banana all the way down his throat and swallows it. I barely held in my drink as I held my nose so nothing would shoot out, keeping my laughter stifled. Damn it, Ty. I thought you said you weren't going to tell that story anymore. A man nursing a bag of ice walked into the room, followed by Ruby. He was different than Ty, a tall and well-built blonde. This dude was a bit slimmer, black hair and red eyes. Story? What story? Ruby popped up. Nothing you need to know, shorty. Crow pulled her cape over her head. I'm not short. She whined, grabbing his hand and trying to push it away. Crow seemed to ignore her as he took a flask out of his pocket, taking a swig then eyeing me. So this is the alien? Yo! I greeted. Sup? He nodded at me, turning back to Ruby. He looks pretty human to me. Crow, don't be racist. Ruby hurriedly chastised him. Actually, I'm not an alien. I felt like the joke had gone on long enough. I didn't want to use her naivety cruelty. I'm a magician. I waved my hands enthusiastically. Okay, I couldn't resist. Really? Gonna to pull a rabbit out of your hat? Crow snorted. Maybe I will. Was that a thing here too? Pfft, I'd stop drinking for a month if you could do that. My lips curled up, and I flipped my hat upside down. I stared right into his eyes as my arm went into my hat, much further than it should have, pulling out Sir Wiggles in all his glory. Silence filled the room. He's so cute. Ruby gushed as I let the rabbit out of my hands and into hers. Ha! Ty just looked surprised as he reached over and stole Crow's flask. Sober for a month, that's gotta suck. Bite me. Crow groaned. Who are you exactly? He looked at me. Just a lost person, your niece? Found and brought to town. I replied. Was actually on my way to Vale and had a little semblance mishap. What's your semblance? Some kind of space manipulation. Crow raised an eyebrow. Something like that. I smiled. I knew a chick who could do something like that, but create portals. Crow sat down next to Ty. Sound familiar? I was surprised by his question and noticed Ty tense up slightly. Sorry, no idea. I shrugged. Some kind of story there, I guess. Long shot anyways. He didn't dwell on it. So what brings you to Vale, if you got so long? You're probably not a native. Yeah, bit of an outsider. Just want to visit the big city for some personal projects. Wanted to start a research project on the nature of dust and aura. Was there even a need to hide my intents? Sounds boring. Crow clearly looked disinterested. Well, if I remember right, there should be a bullhead heading over to Vale in the next couple hours. Ty seemed unsure, but I guess the time frame was something to look into. I guess I should head over then. Don't want to miss my chance. I stood up. Thank you for your hospitality. I know it was a surprise to have a stranger suddenly drop in like this. Tai let out a small laugh. Don't worry about it. You are hardly the weirdest thing Ruby brought home. He looked at his daughter warmly. Besides, I'm proud of her for helping someone like this. She's going to be a great huntress. I couldn't help but admire the little girl, too. She was willing to bring me to her home because she thought I was in need of aid. You have a good daughter. I can only hope mine grows up to be like her. Geez, look at me thinking of Kunu's future. How old is yours? 11. Crow spit out the drink he was sneaking. Damn, they start earlier and earlier now. I rolled my eyes. Not by blood, obviously. Adopted? Tai asked. Well, she adopted me. I let out a small laugh. Regardless, I want to offer a gift as thanks. I only did my duty as a huntress. Ruby chimed in with a bit of pride in her voice, clearly paying attention to our conversation. I'm supposed to help people. Hey now, short stuff, let's see what he's offering. Weren't you eyeing that new upgrade for your weapon? Crow chimed in. Crow, stop being a bad influence. Tai sighed, only to see the sparkles in Ruby's eyes and realize it was futile. I couldn't help but laugh. Your weapon has a lot of moving parts, small ones at that. I can only imagine the maintenance costs and time that go into it. Ugh, I know. Ruby huffed, rubbing her face into Sir Wiggles. But it's fun too, you know. Tinkering with my baby, getting her perfect and upgrading her. Wait, you repair it? I look surprised. Did you make it too? Yup. Her name is Crescent Rose. She's my baby. Ruby beamed with pride. Wow. I can say without a shadow of a doubt, I could not do that. My specialty is not in mechanical engineering, especially with firearms. I thought for a moment, taking out a couple ingots of orichalcum from my ring. These should be useful to you then. Think of it as a thank you. Whoa! What are these? I've never seen metal like this before. Ruby eyes them curiously. It's called orichalcum, a very rare metal. It may take some trial and error to smelt them, but they're much more durable than steel. I dare say they won't suffer any damage in combat, even if you use your weapon every day for your entire life. Ruby squeed, opting to hug the metal over Sir Wiggles, the latter of whom seemed upset by this betrayal. Well, she's going to disappear into her workshop for a few days now. Tai shook his head as I scooped up Sir Wiggles and put him back inside my little hat where he was resting. Thank you. She really does love tinkering with her weapon. Good deeds deserve a reward. I held out my hand. It was a pleasure meeting you, but I should be on my way. If you're ever in the neighborhood, I'll look you up. I gave him one last goodbye and a nod towards Crow, who was paying more attention to Ruby than me. What a nice family. I wonder if this is the standard or the exception to the people in this world. Well, time to hit the road. I looked out the window of this supposed bullhead. It was basically a plane. Well, as much as the term could fit this vehicle. It had these large propeller wings that allowed for vertical and horizontal takeoff. It was a neat design. I saw out the window as a massive ocean creature pierced through the water below, only to dive back down when it looked up and saw we were too high. That was a grim. A very large grim, and it looked like a type of sea serpent. How interesting, and barely anyone even batted an eye. Just more stuff to look into later. What should I do first? Probably find a library or bookstore of some sorts. Don't want to go around asking questions that are supposed to be common sense around here. Kind of want to try the local food as well, but I also don't have any of their currency. Lean they called it? I may or may not have illegally boarded the bullhead using magic. Definitely want to find somewhere to buy some of this dust. I've seen it used in almost every commercial aspect of their technological base, and it's just making me all the more interested in how it works. I noticed the lights being powered by that strange material back at Ty's house, and some other appliances. Really, it seems like they have all kinds of goodies here that I can acquire. Not to mention his aura everyone has. I don't actually know the exact mechanism on how one goes about acquiring it. But the vague notes Zelretch left indicate it could be a small force multiplier on top of everything I have right now. More power? Sure. On that note, I really need to have a talk with the old man about taking better records. Then again, I know his train of thought at the time was probably that he would be the only one reading it, so they were basically reminders. Perhaps I should look for gifts for my girls as well? Rin did say souvenirs. I really should get something for Kunu. Ha! I missed that little fox already. Good news is that I can pop on over and scoop her up whenever I want. Bad news is I would have to explain what I'm actually doing if the time difference is too wonky. My idle musing stopped as I saw the outline of a large city come into view. It was frankly massive, and the huge walls that surrounded it just emphasized that even more. I could see huge guns and fortifications all over the walls, pointing out towards the forest and whatnot. Damn, how much of a problem are these grim that they literally require fortifications of this degree? Honestly, I was a bit giddy to finally arrive. One doesn't explore a completely new world so often, and a hub of activity like this was even more exciting. I ended up falling in love with Skyrim. I wondered if anything like that would pull me here. Welcome to Vale. Please respect your fellow passengers in your boarding and unboarding procedures. An automated voice came over the intercoms. The vehicle touched down a lot smoother than planes I've flown on in the past. I made the idle note to find a design for these bullheads and bring it back with me at some point. Well, that was my K. With a quick spell, I disillusioned myself to quickly disappear without any fanfare. I had a new city to explore. Chapter 94. It looks good. I'll give you 4,500 lean. 4,500? I rolled my eyes. Why don't you just rob me? 10,000. I countered. I can't make a profit with 10,000. It's got to be 5,500 at the most. 9,500? 6,000. Look, can we just skip the song and dance and meet at 7,500? I offered. And throw in an old scroll. I thought for a moment, looking around. Also, I'll take a small box of your fired dust. I pointed over to a display with several vials of dust shown off. He mulled that over for a moment. Fine. It's easy lean, even if it takes a bit to sell, and you can pick out one of the old scroll models, he grumbled, giving me a stack of money from this world. I pushed a small stack of gold coins his way. Pleasure doing business. I happily accepted the money and walked out of the little pawn shop, new phone in hand. Granted, it wasn't called that here, but that was pretty much what it was. A scroll? I walked past one of those stores that explicitly only sold these items, as well as seeing people walking around with them. It wasn't hard to put two and two together to realize it's their version of phones. Pretty neat. I'm excited to see how it works. Found this place fast after I left the airport, or whatever they call that here as well. Unfortunately, gold isn't as valuable here as it is in other worlds. While still a precious metal that most would kill over, I would say it only retains about a third of its value compared to Earth. Maybe I would be better off selling some jewels and jewelry. Regardless, I doubt I can keep going around selling gold without attracting attention. Probably going to need to find a secondary source of revenue because there are many things I plan on buying and I have to fully explore this place. Walking out the place, I did remember a bookstore I passed about a block down. Tuckson's Book Trade, every book under the sun. I muttered, staring at the sign outside. Sounds like my kind of place. The little bell on the door signaled me walking inside. The owner behind the counter immediately perked up to look at me. Welcome. Feel free to browse or ask if you want anything specific. He gave a smile that I couldn't help but notice the sharper teeth. Interesting. Thanks, just browsing for now, but I'll probably ask for a few things later. I gave a polite reply as I made my way into the rows of bookshelves. Oh man, I love this feeling. So many things I simply don't know, and they're all here available for me. I pulled a random book off the shelf, Ninjas of Love 3. I'm sure you could learn a lot from that book. I rolled my eyes and pulled open a random page, flipping through a few until I stopped and read a quick passage. Wow! I whispered. I mean, he was being sarcastic, but he wasn't wrong. Oh, that is some surprisingly hardcore porn for a book with that name. And how would you know that? I've seen your memories. Touché. Let's just put that away for now. What else? Fiction. Fiction and more fiction. Here we go. Proper handling of dust. Not exactly what I was looking for, but anything is good right now. I began taking a few more books off the shelves here or there before deciding to put one or two back. The nature of aura. What semblances mean a look into our souls. The history of Vale. A few looked a bit dry, but I wanted to know some more about this place. I hefted my stack of books up and brought them up to the counter. Tuckson sat up straight, pushing a book he had opened to the side. Oh! He smiled. Found everything you wanted? And more or less. Unless you got anything more scientific on the nature of dust, aura, semblances, and grim. He blinked for a moment, seemingly mulling over my question. I do have a few things in the back, some textbooks and some other stuff. They don't really sell, so I didn't set them out. Oh, wonderful. I was happily surprised. He stepped away, only to return a moment later with 3 more books to add to my pile. Sorry, most people here are looking for fiction, or the occasional Beacon student wanting to find a textbook secondhand. Huh, when does the next year start? I knew very little about Beacon. Figured I should know a thing or two since the topic has come up a couple times now. Time really flies. What month is it now? He looked up, lost in thought for a moment. Should be about 8 months, give or take. This current year is wrapping up. Most classes are pretty much done, but end-of-year exams and things like that usually take up a bit of time. That's probably why I saw a bunch of kids with weapons walking around. Newcomer. He rubbed his chin. Yeah, Beacon kids aren't a rare sight, and it's pretty easy to pick them out of a crowd. But around this time, they all seem to let loose a bit since the school year is practically over. Am I that easy to read? I gave a small smile. Came from outside the city, just a small village. I wanted to test my background, see if I needed to amend it at all. Yeah, that'll do it. He nodded. You got that new guy look about you. He let out a laugh. At least you ain't snapping your head around like a tourist. Pickpockets would be all over you. Well, I do have some street smarts. I chuckled. Good, just stay out of the rougher neighborhoods. Most human gangs around here won't bother you past maybe taking some lean, but if you find some faunus with a bone to pick. He sighed. How bad are the racial tensions here? I questioned. I didn't really know what was going on between these faunus and humans, but I could take some depressingly accurate guesses off what he said. Outside of Menagerie, probably the best place for faunus, but it's still not great. He frowned. Yeah, I don't really understand it. I shook my head. Got a cute little foxy daughter myself. The hell is Menagerie? That sounds like a place, but the name seems kind of offensive. He blinked, a bit of surprise on his face turning into genuine happiness. Really? It's rare for humans and faunus to have children. I just shrugged. Race isn't really a big deal with me, even before I reincarnated and became a half-devil. What do I owe you? I changed the subject. Oh, I almost forgot. He chuckled. Let's see, it should be about 217 lean altogether. Let's call it an even 210. 210 it is then, thank you. I happily offered up the money. Please come back if you ever need another book. He replied with a genuine smile on his face. Nice guy. Oh. I stopped before I pushed open the door. Would you perhaps have a good recommendation for somewhere I can sit down and eat with a book in peace? I know several places. Any other specific requests? By chance do you know one that would allow a pet to accompany me? Welcome. Have you been here before, or is it your first time? I was greeted by a woman I wouldn't call it a maid's outfit, but it was close. But what stuck out were her rabbit ears on top of her head, completely real as they had a little bounce to them. First time, Tuxin recommended me. I replied. He said that pets weren't frowned on. I tried to gauge her reaction. As long as they aren't too big, she said quietly, perhaps looking for said pet. I of course took off my hat, flipped it upside down and let Sir Wiggles pop his head out. That got a small giggle out of the girl. Right this way. She gestured towards an open table. I let Sir Wiggles out. He happily sat at one end of the table, not running around. I'm Velvet, I'll be your waitress. Her voice wasn't very loud. Honestly, her demeanor in general screamed unconfident. Can I start you off with anything to drink? I hummed as I opened the menu. Look at what they had. I'll start off with the Australian dark roast coffee, 2 sugars and a squirt of milk. Oh, and one of those strawberry pastries. I looked up at Sir Wiggles. And would it be possible to get a small bowl of water and perhaps some veggies for my companion? She actually perked up with a small smile, looking over at Sir Wiggles. I know that feeling all too well. His fluff is hard to resist. I'll get him something from the back. She replied, scribbling a few things down and walking away. Figured Sir Wiggles deserved a treat. I keep stuff in my hat to occupy him, but it might get cramped every now and then. Really need to see about expanding the space or connecting it to my home, especially for when he gets a lady friend. I took out one of the books. It was the textbook on aura. I started reading, but a lot of the material was a bit streamlined. I could only roll my eyes when they just emphasized the power of the soul. I wanted to know more than that, like how was this power activated? How did they discover a way to actualize their soul in the physical world? I was about to close the book when one line caught my attention. While the act of awakening another person's aura is usually one of intimacy and reserved for friends and family, it can be done by any other person with their aura already awakened. Oh, well, isn't that interesting? Should I find someone to awaken my aura then? I don't even know if I'm compatible with this mystical phenomenon, and apparently someone needs to poke my soul with their aura for it to happen. A curious thought crossed my mind. How did the first person awaken their aura if it needs someone to awaken it for them? Sir, your coffee and pastry. Also, I have a small plate of lettuce for your pet, Velvet said quietly, holding a couple plates. Thank you. I smiled at her, mentally reminding myself to give her a decent tip. Seems like she needs a win today. I feel like a lot of information is still left out. I closed it for now. Most of the remainder was meant for kids studying it under combat intentions. I could already devise many uses of the nature of aura without a book. With a sigh, I took out the book on dust. It was perhaps an equally curious avenue of research when compared to aura. What exactly was dust? I could tell immediately it was somewhat magical in nature, but I didn't delve into that yet. Hell, I could feel the magical energy from the few small vials of the dust I had just purchased. Nature's wrath is what the book described it as, but all I could think about was that it basically mimicked elemental magecraft corresponding to the element of the dust. Red fire, blue ice. Those were obvious for anyone, but the more I read, the more I was intrigued. Gravity dust? It seems this dust branched out from just the basic elements. Curiouser and curiouser, I bet Gramps would love to get his hands on some of this in fact. Please don't move those. I looked up to see Velvet trying to rein in a few guys pulling chairs from all over as they put two tables together so they could all sit down. Why are we even here? They let animals just walk around. He swept his gaze around, eyes landing on me. The others seemed to notice as well. You, sir, the policy. Oh, hey, there's a rabbit in here, too. He cut her off, much to the laughter of his friends. They were calling Velvet an animal. Annoying. I slid my foot across the around, pulsing magical energy all into the floor. I targeted a leg on the idiot's chair and overloaded it. A small crashing sound, and he rolled on the ground as the chair fell backwards. I despise baseless hate like this. If you hate someone, you hate someone. Why does it have to be because of something beyond their control? It's just the pointlessness of it all that really drive home the annoyance in me. I think these chairs have an upper weight limit. I said idly, but my voice carried. The gentleman who rolled on his ass was a bit heavy-set. I wouldn't call him obese, and even say he has quite a bit of muscle, but he definitely spends a lot of his time sitting down with a beer in his hand. Velvet stepped away from the fuming racist. He surprisingly didn't direct his annoyance at the target of his racism, instead looked at me, fuming. You think you're funny? My lips curled up. As funny as you are fat. I wonder if that was a nerve for him. Not particularly witty, but this really didn't deserve my best. You some kind of tourist, brat? Don't you know who we are? His other friends stood up, following his lead. We don't like your types around here. Did he really just say that? How cliché. Funny, handsome fit. I hazarded a guess. By the looks of them pulling weapons out, that is indeed not what they meant. I hope some of them had aura. I wanted to stress test that a bit before getting some of that for myself. Chapter 95. Really? You draw weapons after a little insult. I rolled my eyes. Did I hurt your feelings? I think my sarcasm was obvious enough to even get through to him. You're going to be hurting a lot more in a second. One of his companions sneered, earning an angry look from the apparent leader. I couldn't help but smile at his comment. I eyed their weapons, not so much from a threat analysis standpoint, but just pure curiosity. They did not look like normal weapons. They reminded me of rubies, and by extension, quite a few other hunters. Like they can all take on several different forms by shifting mechanisms. I took a sip of my coffee. From laughter? Otherwise I fail to see how I'll be suffering any kind of pain. Tough talk from a brat with a bunny for a pet. Tough talk from an old man that can't see his dick when he looks down. You're dead, he roared, charging at me with his fist reeled back, some kind of sword in his other. The looks around the room told me they expected me to get quite the beating as his fist approached my face. I just shook my head and held out my index finger, stopping the man's fist from moving any further. A small bit of energy shimmered where my finger touched his fist, the signs of this aura surrounding him. He looked at me shocked when his fist wouldn't budge. Even his buddies were speechless. There was a moment of hesitation as the hand holding his sword swept up towards me. Getting a better look, I could see a revolving mechanism that held bullets and a barrel on the top side of the blade. So slow. While he had a decent amount of strength behind his fist, all things considered, he probably wasn't putting everything into it, but it was still beyond a normal human's means. I knocked his hand holding the sword/gun away with my other hand, and put quite a bit of strength in my fist as it made contact with his face. His aura exploded on impact, cascading in all directions from the point where I should have met his skin. It wasn't red like rubies, it was yellowish. Is it different based on the person? The kinetic force seemed to seep through somewhat as he stumbled backwards, clutching his face, weapon falling to the ground. Not a perfect defense, I noted, but still, a shield that will maintain itself permanently without nearly any conscious effort on the user's part? Sign me the hell up. Even if it only blocked 1% of an attack's damage, that was still something I wanted to get my hands on. Not to mention, it clearly has an effect on their physical abilities. I grabbed his hand before he could recover, twisting it as he let out a scream. It seems aura doesn't protect from this kind of damage, as I got no reaction. Another note to file away. Throws, pins, joint locks, that sort of thing is probably able to get around aura. I yanked up his gun sword with a little bit of telekinesis. Getting a firm grip on it, I couldn't help but notice how uneven the weight was distributed. It felt cheap. I shook my head again, stabbing towards his torso, watching as his aura didn't quite distort, but it compensated for the sharp edge and reacted accordingly. Fascinating. Was it a mental calculation on the user's part, or did it react to changes on contact? Perhaps even an unconscious mental change? You idiots! What are you doing? The big lug shouted towards his companions, who were broken from their stupor and started coming towards me. Well, this has gone on long enough. I got enough answers to some questions for now. I threw the gun sword at the closest goon, the handle smacking him in the head. Ducking down, I dodged a fist as I uppercut a second in the jaw, elbowing a third in the side of the head and kneeing a fourth in the stomach. They all fell to the ground, groaning in pain. Surprisingly, they did not have aura, so they got quite the little beating. What? The big guy looked at the scene in shock. I looked up to see Velvet staring at the whole thing with a mix of surprise and uneasiness. The way she stood, I could tell she had some amount of training, though I didn't care enough to pry. Was she going to step in if I got hurt? I twisted the guy's arm just a little bit more as he let a pained shout. What do you want? I want a lot of things. I mused, but I'll settle for some information. Particularly, I want to know where I can find someone who can get things. I know a guy, he quickly answered, catching my meaning. I lowered my head as he whispered the information in my ear. With a hum, I let go of him. He shakily stood back up, taking several steps back. I'm curious what the punishment is for someone with aura to attack someone without. He blinked at me in confusion as realization dawned on his face. Why, you don't have aura? Seemingly not believing me. The corners of my lips curled up. I looked around and was thankful that the place was rather empty at the moment, basically just us and the staff. I saw a couple heads poke out from the employee area, not keen on getting involved. Well, why don't you run them pockets? What? Take out your money, you idiot. I rolled my eyes. Are you robbing me? He seemed surprised by this development. I chose not to answer him, walking up as he awkwardly shuffled for his wallet and snatched it out of his hands. I took out his ID, getting a good look before putting it back and taking out all the lean he had and slamming it on the table. Now, fuck off. All right. He nodded, his goons having recovered at this point. They hastily retreated from the premise. Sir. Velvet quietly tried to grab my attention. Do you want me to call the police? Don't worry about it. I waved her off. It was pretty clearly self-defense, until I robbed him at the end, but whatever. Thank you for the service. I set my own stack of lean on the table, a nice big tip in addition to what the dumbass gave. Take care of yourself, Velvet. I hope she gets some more self-confidence, call it instinct, but she probably could have smacked those idiots around with ease herself. I really disliked that kind of obscene hatred. Grabbing Sir Wiggles, he had finished his plate and was just watching me calmly. Well, I had a lead now. It wasn't that far away, about 7 blocks down, but the area gradually changed to resemble a more nightlife kind of vibe. It was still relatively early in the day, so I didn't see anyone out and about beyond just normal matters. The place was rather spacious, only a few sparse people inside as I pushed open the doors, not even a bouncer outside to stop people from coming in. Then again, I doubt the owners would care at this point. If someone wanted to come drink in the middle of the day, more power to them. Well, eyes were on me as I entered, but they turned away after a few good looks. I approached the bar, giving the bartender a once-over. He looked like the description I was given. "What can I get you?" He lazily put his arms up, giving me a look. "I wouldn't mind someone on the lighter side. Got any unique drinks here?" I asked. Strawberry sunrise." He grunted, getting the stuff all prepped. While he looked a bit lethargic, his skill was undeniable as he set the drink in front of me. I took a tip and admired the taste. "Not bad." I nodded. "But I'm here for something else, if you don't mind." "Well, no one's going to be dancing until later tonight." He eyed me warily. "So it's going to be like that?" I took out 100 lean and pushed it towards him. "We do offer some other services." He perked up, pocketing the money. "Name's Junior. What can I do for you?" "I want information." I decided to delve right into it. New to town, wanted to know the rules on getting my aura unlocked. He blinked for a moment, mulling over my question. "Technically, it's illegal to offer your services to unlock someone's aura. Honestly, it's a bit like prostitution. If money is exchanged, then it's a no-go, but they can't really moderate consensual acts." Huh, that's a surprising comparison, yet I can believe it. Another question. Got anyone who would like to unlock my aura free of charge? I put up air quotes. I do want other things of questionable legality, but this would be a good start. Junior snorted, a small smile tugging on his face. "I'd offer to do it, but I don't got much myself. Last time I unlocked someone's, knocked me on my ass all day, and I already have a killer headache." I don't really care who does it." I waved my hand dismissively. He rubbed his hand. "Well, I do know a guy. He should be around. Got a decent chunk of the stuff himself. I doubt he would pass up the easy lean, but the price is up to him." I just shrugged. As long as it's somewhere around reasonable, I don't mind paying a premium. Junior let out a small chuckle. "That attitude will get you far around here." He stepped out from behind the bar. "Come on, I'll take you to the back." He snapped his fingers, grabbing the attention of what looked one of his employees, and gestured for him to take over. He led me to a door to the side, almost unnoticeable. "Oh, Junior, who's the kid?" A man lazing on a couch tilted his head up, giving us a look. "A client." He grunted. "Kid wants his aura unlocked." "And you came to me?" The man sat up, adjusting a bowler's hat on his head. He had a strikingly orange color of hair, and surprisingly well dressed. I would do it myself, but the last time I passed out the girls drew dicks on my face. Junior deadpanned. The man snorted, a small smile on his face. "I'll do it for 400 lean." "Done." I didn't even argue. "Well, aren't you in a hurry?" The man took a cigar out of his pocket, lighting it up and taking a puff. "Kid, meet Roman Torchwick. He likes to introduce himself as a gentleman thief." Junior rolled his eyes. "Hey, I'll have you know, I am officially not a thief anymore." Roman adjusted his collar, looking rather insulted. "Yeah, how long is that going to last this time?" Junior sighed. "What's this? The 3rd time you had the courts expunge your records?" "4th, actually." Roman smirked. "I am officially a free man." "Whatever." Junior didn't comment further. "Where's your little psycho?" "Oh, Nia wanna go rob an ice cream shop or something." Roman replied, eyes turning back to me. "Now, my well-dressed friend, Junior says you want your aura unlocked." "Indeed," I admitted, tilting my head as I examined his own clothes. "And if it wouldn't be too much trouble, could I get your tailor's name and address?" "Oh, you can recognize quality." Roman perked up. "It's not my particular style, but I can appreciate the high-grade materials and skill that went into its making. The seams, of course, stick out the most. They are rather elegant in their weave." Roman paused for a moment, a genuine smile on his face. "I like you, kid. No one ever appreciates the effort I go to look this good. Roman stood up. What's your name? Wilhelm Henry Schweinorg. I introduced myself, maybe with a dash of flair on my end. Wilhelm, I believe this is the beginning of a beautiful relationship.